Yeah, many people think that Hugh Jackman does just fine in his multiverse adaptations of Wolverine. There are a few notable differences, though, between what he does in the movies and what happens in a source material, which is what we cover in this video. Wolverine makes everyone's top 5 list of favorite X-Men superheroes, so much so that he's spun off into his own comic books, animated series, and feature films starring Henry Cavill. I mean, Hugh Jackman, everyone. For years, Hugh Jackman has played a character called Wolverine, a highly celebrated hero from a series of books. Yes, those books of the comic variety. Don't tell me you still think that because they have pictures that they are for kids. That means you've got a pretty twisted sense of what is child appropriate, since Wolverine based comic books are often bloody, brutal, non consensual, and a lot worse. This ain't kid stuff. Authors have been writing and drawing Wolverine since the 1970s, giving him blue collar swag, lumberjack masculinity, animal attraction, and a no nonsense attitude. What's not to like? Even his special abilities are super relatable, with a mutant healing factor that most people would trade their health insurance for. Hugh Jackman may get those core personality traits well enough, but there's a lot that these movies still have not touched. First of all is his appearance. His height. The Wolverine from the source material is clear on this. Wolverine is only 5 foot 3 inches tall, usually the shortest member of any superhero team. But this adds to his low to the ground fighting stance, his grisly attitude, and his rabid animal attacks. It also makes his proportions more mutant like, since his forearms are crazy thick, thicker than most people's legs. Hugh Jackman, on the other hand, 6 foot 3 inches tall. He's lean, and maybe he does a grizzled job, but in a more dapper kind of way. Early on in the adaptation of Jackman's Wolverine, it was rare to see him fighting low to the ground. Also, with a leaner stature, this meant that his claws needed to come out between his knuckles, which is a little different from the comic book Wolverine as well, who has claws that sit more on top of his hands, slightly behind his knuckles. But no one's gonna lose sleep over that one. The second thing that's really different from movies in the comic books is Berserker rage. The longer and more difficult a fight that Wolverine is involved in, the closer he becomes to a rabid, snarling beast. This rage he experiences is not just him getting pissed off, it's part of his genetic code. This is where he literally begins to transform into a wolfman like hybrid and becomes kind of a nightmare to deal with. These are qualities that are totally gone from the movie adaptations starring Hugh Jackman. Berserker rage is never even a topic. It also takes more than 7 years of playing Wolverine before Hugh Jackman gets an R-rated film in Logan and is allowed to slice and dice his opponents. That movie also sees a Wolverine who is a lot more sickly and a lot more ineffective than a comic book series that this movie is based on, Old Man Logan. If you want to see a Wolverine go berserk, read the original comic Old Man Logan, where he does this several times. Notably, he slaughters the Hulk gang members. He also uses Captain America's shield as a guillotine to decapitate the Red Skull. So unlike movie star Wolverine, in the books, he is a maniac to the core. The third big difference between movie Wolverine and comic book Wolverine is the Weapon X program and his origin story. For decades, Wolverine's backstory has been shrouded in complete mystery. One of the most compelling sagas of Wolvie's origins is his inclusion in the Weapon X program. This is where adamantium is bonded to his skeleton and his claws. In X-Men Origins Wolverine, some of that history is revealed to movie audiences. Yet across the 10 movies that we see Wolverine in, so much of his real backstory is not even touched on or mentioned. Speaking of the Weapon X program, in the books, it is way more traumatic. It is way more damaging to Wolverine, and you get to see this in the 90s comic book series called Weapon X. They go into full detail about what Wolverine goes through, including how he's captured, including how they remove his free will, how they erase his mind, and of course, how he gets that indestructible skeleton. Then, in the 2000s, readers get to learn even more about Wolverine's background in the series called Wolverine Origin. Following that, there is a title-spanning House of M series, and this is where Wolverine gets all of his memories restored after nearly 30 years of books where things have been a mystery. Readers also learn that A, Wolverine has a son. B, he's been manipulated by another mysterious villain called Romulus, who happens to be this prehistoric Lupine-like mastermind who has been cultivating Wolverine as his ultimate successor. And this is the real reason that Wolverine has such a crappy life all along. As you can imagine, they don't get along very well. And after 24 years, most films featuring Wolverine don't dare to get into any of these kinds of details, and we probably never will see that on screen. Luckily for you fans, you did finally get to see Wolverine's iconic yellow costume on screen that had so many crying tears of joy. So what do you think? Does Hugh Jackman give us enough of that comic book version of Wolverine, or are we still waiting for some of that rich, good book detail? Follow LitFlix for more.